All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're going to tackle a service that's absolutely critical, but, sometimes flies under the radar. AWS Key Management Service, or KMS. And really, it all boils down to one thing. Who holds the keys to your digital kingdom?
I mean, it's the first question you've got to ask yourself when you move to the cloud, right? You've got all this stuff, your apps, your databases, buckets, just full of sensitive info. So how do you actually lock it all down? How do you make sure it stays safe?
And the go-to answer, is always encryption. You just scramble the data up so it's total nonsense to anyone who's not supposed to see it. Sounds simple enough, right? But that simple solution creates a whole new problem. Because every time you encrypt something, you're basically creating a lock. And, well, every single lock needs a key. And that's where things get crazy in a modern cloud setup. We're not talking about just one lock. We're talking millions, maybe even billions of them. Think about it. Every database row, every file you upload, every little log entry. Trying to manage all those keys, creating them, keeping them safe, swapping them out, controlling who can touch them, it just becomes this massive, massive headache. So that brings us to our first section here, a problem of too many keys. Because that's really the heart of the issue that AWS KMS was designed to fix. Trying to juggle all of that yourself isn't just a pain, it's a huge security risk waiting to happen. All right, Section 2, the Digital Vault Solution. So how do you fix a too many keys problem? Well, you don't. You don't try to manage every single key by hand. Instead, what you do is you build a super secure central digital vault to do it for you. And for us, that vault is AWS KMS. So what is AWS KMS officially? It's a managed service that helps you create and control the keys you use for cryptography. And that word, managed, is super important here. It means AWS is handling all the really, really hard stuff, like keeping the system secure, resilient, always available for you. That frees you up to just focus on what matters, actually using and controlling your keys. And the level of control you get is pretty incredible. You can create all different kinds of keys, both symmetric and asymmetric. You get to define exactly who or what can use them, using the same IAM policies you're already familiar with. You can set up the whole life cycle, have them rotate automatically, maybe disable a key for a while if you need to, or even schedule it for deletion. And here's the kicker. Every single one of those actions is logged. You get a perfect audit trail of everything that happens. Okay, moving on to Section 3, the envelope encryption method. Now this is where things get really clever. We're going to talk about how KMS manages to protect your data across over 100 different AWS services without slowing everything down. And the secret sauce is a technique called envelope encryption.
Here's the breakdown of how it works. Instead of sending your massive file or database over to KMS, the service you're using, let's say it's S3, it generates a brand new unique key right there on the spot. We'll call that the data key. That data key is what actually encrypts your big chunk of data. Now here's the magic trick. Your super important master key in KMS, it never touches your data. All it does is encrypt that tiny little data key. And then that encrypted data key is just stored right alongside your encrypted data. It's like putting the key to a safe inside another, much smaller, much more secure box.
So you might be thinking, hang on, why the extra step? It sounds a little complicated, right? Why not just send all your data straight to KMS and have the master key do all the work? Well, there's a very, very good reason for it. And that reason is all about performance and just practicality. Imagine trying to send terabytes of data across the network every time you wanted to encrypt something. It would be insanely slow, not to mention expensive. But with envelope encryption, the only thing that has to travel over the network is that teeny tiny data key. We're talking just a few bytes. All the heavy-duty encryption happens right where your data is. This slashes network traffic and makes everything so much faster. Okay, Section 4, how you control your keys. We've established that KMS is fast and efficient, but honestly, the biggest question for any company is about control. If AWS is managing the vault, how can you be absolutely sure that you're the only one with the keys to it? This is a huge deal, and AWS gives you a whole spectrum of options. So the cornerstone of all of this is what's called a customer managed key, or a CMK. This is a KMS key that you create, you own, and you manage. It means you have complete, fine-grained control over who can access it, what its policies are, and its entire life, from the moment it's born to the moment you decide to delete it. Now, the standard way to do this, and what most people use, is to have your keys created and stored right inside the KMS vault itself. And these keys aren't just sitting on some random server. No way. They're protected by some serious specialized hardware called Hardware Security Modules, or HSMs. And these things are validated against really tough government standards, like FIPS 140-3, to prove how secure they are.
But what if you need even more control? Well, for organizations that have that requirement, you can actually generate your own key outside of AWS and then import that key material into KMS. This gives you absolute proof that the key was born inside your own environment, which can be a make-or-break requirement for certain compliance rules. And then, for the absolute maximum level of control, you've got the External Key Store, or XKS. This is wild. It lets you use KMS, but with keys that are stored and managed on your own hardware, completely outside of the AWS cloud. This means the keys are physically inaccessible to AWS. This setup is designed to meet even the most strict rules about data residency and control. So if you look at them side by side, you can see there's this clear spectrum of control you can choose from. Standard KMS is going to be perfect for most people. It's that great balance of being easy to use and super secure. Then you've got Cloud HSM, which gives you your own dedicated piece of hardware inside AWS for more direct control. And finally, there's XKS, which is really for those situations where regulations demand you have absolute external control. The point is, you can pick the exact model that lines up with your security needs and your compliance rules. All right, last section here, Section 5, Why Key Management Matters. So we've gone through the what and the how. Let's bring it all home and really focus on the why. Why is it so important to have a solid central key management strategy for your security and really for your business? So what are the big takeaways here? First, KMS gives you one central place to manage and audit access to all your data, which makes proving compliance a million times easier. Second, it integrates so smoothly that turning on encryption across more than 100 AWS services is basically a checkbox. And finally, because it's a managed service, it takes that huge operational weight and cost of running your own high-security key infrastructure completely off your shoulders. And really, this is the core promise of the whole service. AWS KMS is specifically designed so that no one, and that includes AWS employees, can ever get their hands on your plain text KMS keys. They just can't be retrieved from the service. That right there is the foundation of trust that the entire system is built on. And that brings us right back to where we started. Your data, your apps, your whole business, it's all moving to the cloud. Using a service like KMS isn't just about ticking an encryption box. It's about taking control. It's about being able to confidently and definitively answer that one critical question. Your data is in the cloud. Do you know who holds the keys?